Guys, VaulSC here. It's been a while. How are you? We're going to have a look at some Infinity today, a bat rep between the Aleph and the YuJing. Okay, so we're going to be playing Power Pack, which is a brand new mission. I believe it was first sort of semi-tested in Strike Zone Wotan, but now there's an official version of it in ITS Season 9. A power pack is a mission which rewards going second, in my view, because when you look at the objectives, the idea is to control things and activate things at the end of the game. The only other way to really pick up points is to get the classified, really, and prevent your opponent from doing certain things. So it's all about that last gasp. The most striking thing about the mission is that the deployment zones are actually split into two boxes on either side of the field, which is really interesting. Let's say you're going first, but your opponent gets to deploy second. Well, that's going to mean that if you use the actual extended 16 inches to get closer to them for an alpha strike, they might be deployed in the opposite corner, if you guys gather that. So that can be a factor. Also, when it comes to finding snipers, towers, and perches in areas where you can get a really good fire lane, well, there might be some really good ones in the middle that you can't use, and the corners might not be so great. For the game that I'm about to report on, we actually set up a table as if we were playing a different mission, and then I remembered, oh crap, the deployments are different when I came to deploy. So that really threw a spanner in the works, and I think that's going to make this game interesting. Furthermore, there is a saturation zone, which, as we know, makes it more difficult to be the alpha striking player and to clear out ARO pieces. So that further makes it more difficult to win going first, in my view, because your plan going first is to do damage, and then take some of the antennas, make sure that they're not in a position to get your console, and then the last turn you just defend, and it's very hard for them to come in and attack back. But to set that position up, you're going to have to actually kill some cheerleaders, you're going to have to kill some specialists, you're going to have to kill things that are watching the table, and it's harder to do that with an HMG through the middle because the saturation zone's there. So again, makes it really difficult. One other thing I find interesting is that you can either win by snapping up the 4 antennas in the middle for a whopping 4 objective points, or you can go and control the console with your data tracker. So if you've got, say, a Yotam who's your data tracker, I believe they can be data trackers, the tags, so correct me if I'm wrong, or in my case, Achilles for this game. Send him over there, and all he's got to do is stand next to it and survive. If he's got 3 wounds and ODD, then great, he probably will survive, and there you've got 4 points. So as the player who's going second, you get to choose. You have that luxury of deciding which is going to be the optimal way to most easily get more objective points for my opponent to win. Well, okay, if they've only secured like 1 antenna and they haven't got your console, you take that antenna back and you've won. Or if they've got your console, well, there's a guy sitting there next to your console, you've got the last turn, so you just shoot that model. Not that hard. So I don't love this mission, but we played it anyway, and we had a bit of a blast. Again, before we go into the bat rep, this will be my first time bat repping with vanilla Aleph, which is my sort of hobby faction at the moment. So I call this list Kill Ease. Ah ha 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 ha, puns, dad jokes. I don't have any kids, by the way. I don't know why I'm using dad jokes. So this is an Achilles list, but it's not a steel phalanx list. I really love using Achilles in Aleph Vanilla because he has the advantage of using all of those cheapest cheerleaders, which may not necessarily be practical in Steel Phalanx. But he's got that versatility of being backed up by some of the mid-range troops you don't necessarily get. And you've got access to Crackit Renegades, which I think are really important. The Dakini, which has which is a really good synergy with any normal hacker. And of course, the posthumans support him so well. Posthumans are just amazing. The only reason why posthumans don't really break Infinity in general is that Aleph has some other small weaknesses to make up for the fact that posthumans, especially the Mark II, are too powerful at the moment. So I run Achilles with the DAS-U Forward Observer, great model. I use all of the robots, just the Chile robots, double Krakot Renegade, of course. I use the Deva Lieutenant. You could run Achilles as the Lieutenant, but I just don't really find that I can justify the points for the Chain of Command Myrmidon, so I'd rather have the fairly durable Diva. The good thing about having the Diva as Lieutenant is you've got the great willpower, and she's got that sensor, and really there isn't much choice. If we're playing NCA, for example, you just take a Fusilier. If I could take a Fusilier Lieutenant in this list, I would, but Dava is the next best thing. And of course, all the net rods, the Sophotech, the proxy sniper, I feel is my favorite proxy of all. And of course, the standard hacker means that you're effectively paying for a post-human, which is what, 38 points. And for that 38 points, you get the hacking and you get the TO sniping. So it's worth it for 38 points and 2 SWCs. All right, let's just get into it. Let's see if we can get started. So I won the roll, thank God, so my chances of winning are a bit higher. I get to choose the second turn right off the bat, and the first thing I do is I take a photo of my hidden deployment proxy, which is my sniper in a bit of a perch here. You'll see later from the other photos, but he's got a long fire lane along here, and my deployment zone is across here, so he's going to help defend against a few cheerleaders, I'm hoping. Then further to the middle of the table, and again, more photos are going to give you better context, but there's a DAS-U behind this this white box here. The objectives, this one's the middle one, and this one's the one to my right, and we'll see a bit more about where everything is in a second. Okay, so this photo gives us a little bit more context. This is the corner, my left-hand corner of the field, and the first deployment zone is a little square for power pack along the side here, and I really don't have much space to put robots, especially the fat-ass Minesweeper bot. I do have space to put him here, but the only way I could fit him into the deployment zone would have left part of his ass sort of showing around the crate, so he would have just been shot. Achilles, of course, being the reserve model and the data tracker, he's in a really cool position, actually, because even though the photo doesn't show it very accurately, Achilles has a fire lane along the back of my deployment zone in case anything shows up like a drop trooper. He's got a very thin long deployment zone line along there where a lot of things can cross over the table, and he's got a line along the side as well with a Spitfire. Now, Achilles isn't built to be an ARO piece, but he kind of does the job pretty well because it's hard for somebody to shoot him and just kill him with an HMG because he's so tough, and his blister skill's so high that he can sort of make up for the range penalty of the Spitfire anyway. Sadly, though, I'm expecting to get chain rifled or something by these bots, and they're very vulnerable to speculative fire and things like that, which kind of sucks. Diva Lieutenant up here. Another cool thing about the Diva is if they do have a light grenade launcher, she's got NWI, so she stands a better chance of surviving against it, which is cool. The Krakot Renegade here is, so he's rolled up regeneration and +3 fizz. Not my favorite roll, but still pretty useful. So if we now go to the other side of my deployment zone, we are relegated to a little zone in here. Note that the Krakots have 4 deployments, so they can actually deploy a little bit further outside of the box. This silhouette marker here is my HVT model. I showed up for my game without remembering to bring my proper HVT. We've got 2 net rods having landed here and here. The third one scattered off the table and was destroyed. So over my side, we've got the Takini with HMG, really good to synergize through the repeating Minesweeper there with the proxy hacker for assistive fire. Of course, the Sophotech there to do some repairs, and the other Krakot here has rolled up Dogged and Total Immunity, which is a pretty good roll. I'm not going to say no to that roll. So my opponent playing vanilla YuJing. So he's got a crane with multi-rifle. He's going first. He's seeing there's an opportunity to go kill my Sophotech. He's planning on just barreling down the flank and killing me. He's also got a flash pulse bot here, which is proxied by some sort of old out of production bike model. His HVT is here, and of course one of his squares is along this spot. Well, to be more accurate, along this spot, to be fair, because it's 16 inches, not 12. He's got a walker here. Unbeknownst to me, there's also a hidden hack tower sitting there, which I don't know about at this point in the game. And there's a Celestial Guard control device back here, Guangxi over there. And then, if we look at the other side of the deployment zone, other side of the table, I should say, where's my pen? So we've got a Shaolin Monk, we've got, so this is a Sensor bot, Guangxi, and there's a TR bot right there. So I'm going to have to weather the storm of first turn goodness. So initially, this is his right-hand side area, which we just talked about. Guangxi and Monk moving out. The Monk gets to throw a smoke grenade into that little area here where he might come into, run into a bit of trouble. There's also a reserve trooper, Guilang assault hacker, prone on the rooftop, ready to move down and take some objectives later in the game. So, I just want to point out that as soon as anything comes around this corner, Achilles is going to fire his Spitfire along here, but also this little robot here has a flash pulse. So what ends up happening is the Monk actually comes around the corner with Impetuous, throws the smoke grenade in the face-to-face roll with this flash pulse bot, and loses and gets flash pulsed. So a bit of an unfortunate beginning to our warband shenanigans here, so nothing happens with smoke. On the other side, we've got a Crane with multi-rifle who uses a coordinated order to shift out. That bike representing a flash pulse bot is also shifting out, but I'm going to be waiting for the chance to snipe him with my proxy. Unfortunately, though, we don't get a good angle. Elsewhere, a Guangxi is sort of moved around here. He's slicing the pie around to try and get his chain rifle onto this spot here without coming into line of sight of Achilles. As soon as he comes around a bit further to blow them all up with the chain rifle, that's when Achilles is trying to gun him down. Luckily for me, though, again, managed to pass my armor save after failing the dodge, and very carefully, you can see I've just slid back this robot just enough so that when the Guangxi continues to come around, because he's here at the moment, as he comes around, Achilles is going to start opening up with his gun. Now, to be fair, once my opponent gets a little bit of an angle along here with some kind of HMG, Achilles is probably going to cop it, and then if he has to go prone and duck away, the Guangxi can then move around and wreak havoc. The thing is, though, Achilles should just be able to duck prone behind those boxes, and there's a saturation zone, so even if he does shoot me with an HMG, well, he's shooting into ODD and I've got armor 4 plus cover, and for this game my opponent hasn't deployed any MSV. So quite fortunate for me there, really. Alright, so moving along, he's moving his flash pulse robot into the center of the field, and he's going to come around here, and sadly for me, he's going to be planting a sniffer. And knowing that my DAS U-Fort Observer is actually hidden there, that is going to be alarm bells ringing. Elsewhere, we've got, I'm not too sure you can see it from the photo, but right here, that is his Crane. And this little red laser that I've handily sort of got out for the photo is where Achilles can see to. So the Crane, because he wants to shoot up my cheerleaders, is going to move past and not even bother to dodge. So Achilles whips out the sniper, the Spitfire, shoots long range, misses, doesn't get any wounds, and the Crane continues freely. Now I do have a proxy sniper there. Unfortunately, though, the proxy has got a really good angle along there and a really good angle along that side there, but can't actually see through all of this jazz in the middle of the table, so doesn't quite get a good enough line to the Crane at this point. Having said that, though, the Crane is now planning on coming around here, and when I play Infinity, I like to be really charitable if I can. I said to my opponent, hey, just want to remind you, that robot has a repeater. Just want to put it out there. If I'm trying my hardest to gotcha somebody or beat them in a game in Infinity, I usually keep my mouth shut until they stop using stealth and actually shoot me, and then I go, haha, I'm going to hack you. But I played a lot of very friendly games, and this was one of them. So after informing my opponent of that, he said, right, cool, thanks for that, I'm going to use stealth, and he decided not to come around this way. He tried to pick a better angle because he didn't want to engage the Sophitect and the bot and get hacked at the same time. So his plan is to go kill the repeater and get out of hacking range. Note that he's using his lieutenant order now, which is suspect because he's got no command, no chain of command on the board, and he's attacking with his lieutenant, which is a Crane, which I found kind of weird. But the mystery was solved later when I realized, oh, he's actually got a hack tower with executive order ready to back him up later. So the Crane moves around the side of this little obstacle, cannot see the bikini because of this box here, but gets line of sight of this robot, which he can now blast with his multi-rifle. The Sophitect is prone behind the silhouette of the robot and can't respond. But this is the time to shine, because there's now a proxy. Now, after this particular face-to-face roll, my opponent reminded me, oh, because of the way proxy and posthumans work, you cannot hack with one posthuman and shoot with the other one in the same ARO because it's a posthuman. He inhabits, or she inhabits, one of the bodies or the proxies. Luckily, it didn't matter because the hacking roll that I made missed anyway, but I shouldn't have been allowed to hack and shoot. Just putting it out there if you guys encounter that in your game. So what happens is the sniper hits him, deals a wound, so he leaves left with one wound, and he destroys the repeater. So now he's freed up to attack whoever he wants to attack, but there's a sniper preventing him from really doing much more damage. So we're looking good. So the Spitfire crane, sorry, the multi-rifle crane has been damaged there. Comes around the other side, he's almost out of orders, has a bit of a scuffle with the Sophitek, but does not manage to kill the Sophitek or even wound her. So there he is. Elsewhere, we've got the sensor bot moving out, getting ready to place a sniffer, and the hack tower appearing, but staying prone, and the only reason the hack tower is coming out of hidden deployment, of course, is to become the lieutenant, so that when the crane dies, he's not in loss of lieutenant for his following turn. But a bit of a view of the table. It's very blurry photo, and there's people playing Magic the Gathering in the background, but that model you can see just in the crosshairs here is the posthuman sniper. And he knows this, and he's also got the walker here, so if he stands up with the hack tower, there might be a shootout. There's a saturation zone. You don't really want to have to go after the proxy because it's got NWI and TO camo, and he's -1 dice for the saturation zone, so not wonderful. Okay, so my turn. The Krakot moves out and tries to shoot at the crane with his submachine gun. We had a couple of goes of this. He even took a shot from the flash pulse bot at one point, but as he's coming around here, firing multiple bullets into the crane, failing to kill him with every face-to-face roll, we finally get into close combat, and he can use Berserk with a chest rind to put him down, but lose the Krakot in the process. But it's a good trade. You don't really want the crane sitting there in your deployment zone for the rest of the game. We did realize, however, that my opponent had a camo marker in his deployment zone, which I thought was a Raiden or a Guilang, but it turned out to be, and this model looks like it is Nauf from Outrage. By the way, I am planning on doing a review of Outrage soon. I thought that I would hate this comic. I thought it would be cringeworthy. I really liked it. Just going to put it out there. I don't normally say nice stuff about Corvus Belli, you guys know that, but this was actually a cool book. I will probably do a review of it when I get around to it. But he's not using Nauf, he's using Major Luna, which is a model that I haven't seen on the table yet. She is comparable to a model like Nauf, or in particular a Guilang sniper. I think that she's not really good enough to be used in lists, but she is cool. The viral sniper is definitely a good gun. What's happening here is that he's shooting at me as I'm moving out with Achilles, because we had a fire lane here, and there's a bit of a line along this area. But luckily, thanks to ODD and thanks to Achilles dodging, he managed to survive the evil clutches of Major Luna. So with Achilles moving out now, Achilles needs to do a lot of damage. I really like attacking with him in the second turn. In the first turn, you've got too much annoying things to get rid of. There's too much of this, war core, TO deployment stuff. It's better to attack with him later in the game. But at this early point, he's just wanting to kill this Quang Shi and then move back into cover, right? So that's really what you're wanting to do, and then move out. So unfortunately, though, Achilles takes a hit from the chain rifle, loses a wound, but once Dogged clears, the Quang Shi is gone. My opponent's turn 2. So, by the way, in my first turn, that's really all I achieved. The Sophitek revived the Minesweeper bot, Achilles killed a Quang Shi, the Posthuman Sniper killed a Warcore, the Krakot killed the Crane, and that's all I could achieve. But the thing is, the longer I draw out the game and the more stuff survives till the end of the game, the greater my chances are of winning because of the way the mission's organized. So I've killed several of his models. I've really only lost 1 or 2 if you count the net rod. And the great thing is that I've revived the model with a Sophitek, so that's looking really good. And she's standing right next to the Krakot, so I could revive that model as well. Anyway, unfortunately, my opponent moves up on the building with his Quang Shi. He can't afford to spend an order restraining it, so the Posthuman Sniper shoots it and destroys it immediately. All right. Furthermore, there is a Shaolin monk which moves out around here. It was blinded last turn, but now it can move in, throw a smoke grenade, blocking line of sight from Achilles. So that makes things a bit easier, especially since he can now, because his monk is here, and this is a top-down view. He's thrown one smoke grenade around to this spot, and now he's throwing another smoke grenade around to this spot, just to block off fire lanes, block off the post-human, and he's going to get his repeater in because he wants to be able to hack and isolate Achilles a little bit later. So that's his plan. While he's doing this, he does move a model around and I believe shoots my net rod. He's got the flash pulse bot into position here. We'll be putting down a spotter because a sniffer because my Dazu is still in position there. All right, so here's what happens. In comes the sensor bot, goes for the objective, and at the same time he's planning on censoring me. But as you guys can see from the photo, if you look carefully at this circle here, my Dazu is effectively at the spot. There's a silhouette around about there, and there is a little fire lane through there to the bot. So knowing that he's going to be censoring me, I react with a single combi rifle shot revealing the Dazu, which is good because if he shoots me, well, the bot is up against ODD and -1 dice for the saturation zone. So this isn't actually too bad, and luckily I haven't taken a killer hacker, otherwise his ninja would appear and just nuke me straight away. So with the Dazu appearing, you can see a line through the gap, and Dazu does not manage to kill the bot, but the bot does not manage to kill the Dazu either. So that's looking good. The thing is, though, he does have triangulated fire. But problem with triangulated fire is, again, it's not going to get around the saturation zone and it's out of range. So 2 dice needing 8s versus 1 dice needing, I think, a 9. So the odds of killing the Dazu aren't wonderful, especially since the combi rifle's not going to have shock. One complaint I have about his army list, which I feel could be improved, is that he's got no standard hacker to put assisted fire on his TR bot or his sensor bot, so not great. So the tactic that we're trying instead is to move around, I believe, with his TR bot to try and shoot at the Dazu, but he's got to get through the post-human sniper first. And sadly, that saturation zone is a bit of a bitch. Shooting 3 dice with a TR bot against a TO camo sniper. Didn't think that was the best play, to be fair. Comes out, tries to shoot him, and gets wrecked. Post-human just puts him in the grave. Elsewhere, we've got the hack tower, just trying to move down from his perch, trying to go down the staircase, kill I think a net rod while he's at it, and just get into a better position for later, because his plans have been foiled for most of this turn. One thing he does try doing, though, is he moves his flash pulse bot into base contact with the Dazu, because that ties me up in close combat. I responded with a close combat attack, and he electrocuted me, so that was kind of annoying. My Dazu does get immobilized, which could make it harder in the game to actually collect the antennas if they are going to be important. So that's annoying. But turn 2 has arrived for Aleph. So with this in mind, Achilles wants to come around here and get these guys. Only problem is that I suspect he's got a hidden hacker, and I don't really want to take a flash pulse and a chain rifle. I want to be able to Rambo. So before I came around the corner, I thought, well, not going to do this. I'm just going to activate stealth, not get hacked for now, and instead of doing that, we are going to get the Krakot onto the job. So the Krakot's up here. I realized if I stood up, although the photo makes it look like I can see over the ledge, due to the way Bandua terrain is actually built, the Krakot can't see over the ledge unless he uses a lean out. So what I did instead is I came up on top of the bridge and used the look down. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I remember reading in the rules that if you used 2 template weapons in the same activation, the 2 chain weapons layering over each other cause a -3 to dodge. So if you fire both chest mines at once, I believe it's -3 to dodge. I might be wrong about that. But what happens here is he fires both blasts, both uses of the chest mine. My opponent rolls really high dice for the dodge anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. And this results in me killing the robot, but the Shaolin monk does manage to survive somehow. So dodges away. So with this in mind, Achilles doesn't have to get hacked anymore, so what I can do now is move around the corner and blast him with the Spitfire. Problem with that, though, is my opponent does get a little bit lucky and rolls a critical dodge. So I'm thinking, damn, Achilles is in close combat with the Shaolin monk, and the dangerous thing about this is that even though Achilles is slightly better in close combat, they've both got martial arts level 3. And every time I fluff the roll and he gets a hit through, I could be losing more wounds, and I've already lost a wound, so it's dangerous. But in terms of risk-reward ratio, if I just win the close combat straight away, then I've got tons of orders to go on a rampage, winning me the game. So I decided to take the risk here. I figured that if I lose the first round, well, maybe I'll just go and attack with something else. So throw the dice, roll a 6. I'm thinking, God, Achilles is fucked. But luckily, my opponent rolls a 4, and Achilles wins and slashes his head off with the explosive weapon. So thank God. What is able to happen now is Achilles is able to use things like Cautious Move and goes on a bit of a rampage, heading around the flank, goes around to another Quang Shi, blasts him with the Spitfire. It's okay to take wounds at this point. There is a Hack Tau up in his deployment zone there, but he's prone, so he can't shoot me. So Achilles just wiping out the Quang Shi here, and continuing to come around. We've killed the Sensor Bot already. There is a Hack Tau, which does actually appear. Sorry, he has stood up. So the Hack Tau is able to shoot down at Achilles, but doesn't get anything done. Achilles, remember, ODD. So that happens. And then what Achilles is able to do is actually move around the corner of this crate in his deployment zone and shoot at Major Luna. Now, being within 24 inches, +3 for range, -3 for, I think, mimetism, 15s on 4 dice. Achilles sadly doesn't manage to kill her, which is really annoying. Major Luna does not manage to kill Achilles either. And we're left with a turn where Achilles is in the enemy deployment zone. He's only got 1 turn left. I've got another turn left. But the really crucial thing about this situation is that he's got nothing in this quadrant of the table. And Achilles can easily just move out here in my final turn and capture his console. And he's the data tracker. So that's 4 points waiting for me to just snap up. Also, my Sophitect has gone and revived one of the Krakots, which is meaning that I complete my classified objective, which was experimental drug, which was quite cool. So here you can see her over here, just walking past the corpses, reviving the Krakot. And the great thing about that is it allows me to pull ahead in such a way that if Achilles gets the console and I keep the classified, I'm on 5 points, whereas my opponent would have to take an antenna and prevent me from getting any antennas. Also, I get an additional point for stopping my opponent from capturing my console, so this puts me way ahead. All he's really got is the models in his corner of the table. So we had the Sophitech moving out, she's moved out, tried to do a little bit of damage, but hasn't really managed to succeed. She's just preparing to move in and take antennas if need be later in the game. So my opponent's last turn, he doesn't really have many orders to work with, but stands up with the Hack Tau, trying to relocate. He's got a Ninja Killer Hacker, as you'd always do, and the Ninja moves around, avoids the Posthuman. Posthuman discovers it, but it's going to reveal anyway, and just moves around the corner here to pick up that objective. So he successfully does at least press the button, putting him in the lead for antennas at least. So that gives me some work to do. So there you go, there's the Ninja. If you wanted to, you could probably move the Ninja around and wipe out the Dazyu in close combat, but she's kind of stuffed anyway, so he does other things with his orders, namely, moving around with the Hack Tau, trying to get into a position because he really wants to block Achilles' path to the console. So setting up suppression fire, setting up some arrows, preventing me from just winning straight out is his priority, which is a good priority to have. So there's experimental drug here. The other thing he's attempting to do is move this Guilong assault hacker, which is in the middle of the table, having to avoid the posthuman, so just crawling down the stairs, avoiding them using prone, and getting to a position where, if you look carefully, that white crate in the background is where Achilles is hiding. So Achilles is behind this crate. The Hack Tau is covering this fire lane along here, and the Guilong can cover this fire lane along here. And if they can shoot Achilles as he's approaching, then he could win, because I might not capture an antenna, and he gets 4 points out of that. So that's the idea there. So puts the Hack Tau into suppression fire. There he is there. The Guilong is hanging out where he can avoid the posthuman, but still see Achilles, and going to hopefully try and make a bit of a game of it. So the Sophitect, in my final turn, moves out to try and slice around to get the Guilong, but we realized, oh, she can see the Ninja before that happens, so we just dialed that back, and instead of going for the Guilong first, she shoots her combi rifle at the Ninja in the distance. Hilariously, the Ninja pulls out his bow, looses the arrow, it's a critical, It's double action. She's got NWI. Cool, just got to pass an armor save, fails the armor save, and the soft attack dies. So no specialist to go after the antennas, except for the Dazu, which is in combat with a bot, which it can barely beat in close combat. And I've got a post-human hacker, which only has one order in its second group at this point, because I've moved something from group 2 to group 1. So antennas are out of the question. My opponent has got 4 points there, which is there to stay. I cannot win by taking back antennas. Achilles has to make it to that console, otherwise we lose here. With that in mind, the post-human, and I should have done this first, this is just the dumbest, most rookie error of Infinity ever. The post-human now activates and shoots the ninja, and tries to kill him, although I miss. So to be fair, I should have tried that first, because if I'd killed the ninja, then the game would have been really easy. But as it happened, didn't even kill the ninja, so moot point. So nothing really to worry about there. So now, what Achilles does is Achilles just carefully pokes around the corner and goes for the Squeelung hacker, just to take him out first, and then go around for the hack tower. Now I've got 2 wounds. It's only going to take me 1 move to get over to the console. So if I can move over there without losing the other 2 wounds, I will win. The thing is, the hack tail shooting with 3 dice, bliss skill 14, up against ODD, but failing 2 saves from 3 shots, I don't really want to take that risk. So initially, Achilles moves around. This is also risky. If I just get critted to death by an arrow combi rifle, that's pretty bad. But Achilles, he's a demigod, kills the Guilung predictably, and we can move on. Now, there's a hero in this game, and that hero is the Dakini, who is now able to step out from behind his blue box and shoot at the hack tower, who miraculously is standing in a position where the Dakini can see him. And I've got like 6 orders to work with here, or 7 orders. So Dakini starts just going to work, mowing him down with this, even though there's a saturation zone. And ironically, if the hack tower breaks suppression to shoot back beyond 24 inches, then I automatically win, because Achilles can walk across. He's only got 1 shot from the hack tower at that point, and I've got 2 wounds. So it's an automatic victory if he does anything other than just hold position and just take the shots like a punching bag. So the Dakini's shooting, and he's shooting, and I'm rolling 3 dice at a time, and I'm burning through all my orders. I only need to keep 1 regular order there for Achilles to use. And the Dakini, I shit you not, he misses every single shot, or the shots that he does hit are tanked by the hack tower, which is just absolute comedy gold. So I'm down to my last order, and I'm thinking, damn, Achilles, you've got to make it. And at that point, huge anticlimax, because we remember that the hack tower does not have courage. So for every time he passed armor saves, he has to take a guts check. And the first one we rolled retrospectively, he failed. So Aleph wins. But just for laughs, we decided to roll to see what would happen if the hack tower does get a chance to shoot with suppression fire. And we rolled the dice, and Achilles lived anyway. So happy ending for Aleph. Achilles moves over to the console. I get 2 for controlling the console at the end of the game, another 2 because Achilles is the data tracker, another 1 because I've prevented him capturing my console, and another 1 for the classified. So what's that? 6 points? He gets 4 points for the antennas, though. He does not have my HVT, did not complete his classified. Hope you guys loved this game. It was, in some ways, it was a little bit one-sided, but it was hugely fun, and actually could have swung back his way a couple of times. Achilles got a little bit lucky, a couple of points, but it was super fun and kind of enjoying Aleph. I've got another version of this list which has different stuff, no Achilles, but instead some other interesting models, such as the heavy-duty, heavy infantry posthumans. But we'll have more about that soon. Thanks for watching, as always, guys.